this has been a violent summer in America. August was the deadliest month in Chicago in 20 years, and Washington, D.C. and Milwaukee saw their biggest homicide spikes in 2 decades. So tonight, we're going to take you inside one city's controversial approach, a program that pays young men not to shoot. Here's my Nightline co-anchor, Byron Pitts.
DeJuan Rice is just 19 years old, but he's already had to say goodbye to 7 friends, each one murdered, and he's fed up.
That's cold, bro.
Today, he's paying his respects to 2 brothers buried in one plot, shot to death on the same day. He tells us he didn't cry when they died, but the tears coming now. And something else, anger.
What are you thinking? What are you feeling?
Pain, man. Like real pain, bro. You know what I mean? Make me want to act in violence.
Watch closely. Grappling with an urge to avenge his friend's violent murders, DeJuan pulls out his phone. He's about to make a life or death decision, whether to call his boys and retaliate.
I have to sit back and I gotta think, whether to go left or whether to go right.
5 bullets came from a white Mazda.
A brother and sister shot to death in Richmond last night.
This potent mix of pain, anger, and teenagers with guns, making DeJuan's hometown of Richmond, California, at one point, one of the deadliest cities in America. Here, the streets are hunting grounds. Corner after corner, young men run for their lives. Those puffs of smoke, bullets, chased by an armed rival. And here, a calculated hit is underway. 2 men calmly walking before they open fire, lighting up the night.
Every night on the news, you'd think this was Beirut. You'd be afraid to come to this city.
In 2007, the city brought in Devon Bogan, who came up with a controversial solution. Pay the young men like DeJuan not to pull the trigger.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. The better the behavior, the better the paycheck.
Ain't that funny?
This month, DeJuan got the maximum, $1,300.
Congratulations, bro.
Thank you. Thank you.
That day at the cemetery, he chose not to avenge his friend's murder.
Everything you do is gonna have a reaction, you know what I mean, and a consequence.
You on first check status.
DeJuan is just one of 24 young men in an 18-month-long fellowship that's run out of Devon's Office of Neighborhood Safety, or ONS, mostly funded by taxpayers.
That's our rent right here, boom.
There are people we've spoken to who believe it is wrong to pay a kid not to kill somebody.
Well, that's not what we do. In fact, I never tell a young man to put his gun down.
So what are you paying them for then?
Their job is to get their lives together.
Devon says incentivizing these young men to change is ultimately more cost-effective for everyone. One murder costs nearly $500,000 on average, almost all of it paid by taxpayers.
I painted all those cabinets right there.
So far, the investment in DeJuan is paying off. He just got his first on-the-books paying job.
When the people come in here and they move into their house, they would never know that little black kid from Richmond did it. You know what I mean? They'd never know.
Progress for a young man who was first arrested at age 12 for armed robbery. He says he was homeless, stole an iPhone to help his single mom pay her bills. Devon says he was well known on the streets.
A serial shooter.
That's what they would say. I called him a leader.
A hunter.
That's what they would call him. I called him brilliant, working to survive.
So the arrest date and then the conviction date. All right. We're not appealing their decision. We're applying for a waiver. Yeah.
To help the fellows navigate life or death choices, Devon enlisted men like James Houston and Sam Vaughn,
For the baby mama's sake, you got to this is your first, so it got to be the most important.
who themselves have rap sheets for violent crimes.
So what's their resume look like? Graduate school, social work?
Most of our guys have come out of either state or federal prison.
Convicts?
Oh, absolutely. And let me tell you, City Hall was like, what? We're going to be looking to hire men and women who may have murder in their background.
It's their backgrounds that in part make them particularly suited to the most crucial part of their job, interrupting violence.
Hello?
The fellow calling tells James he thinks he's being hunted.
What kind of car?
A car filled with suspected rivals, parked in front of his house. Unarmed, Sam and James put their lives on the line to stop a potential shooting.
I'd rather protect myself than be screaming for help on the ground.
We're told to keep our cameras down because the young man asked us not to show his face, his house, nor use his name.
I'm telling you, serious, cut, take my word.
But I'm telling you,
calm down.
yeah. But what I'm saying is,
wherever it is right now, they just a dead man walking.
Let us try to deal with this.
Sam and James stay with him until he calms down.
For a minute, it was a hard choice, but then again, I had to really think about it.
it is a cry for help. It just isn't the typical one. Because they don't want to do something, but they feel like they have to.
In a 5-year period, the number of homicides dropped 76% across Richmond, a number that can't be attributed to ONS alone. But ONS says the proof that their approach is working, the vast majority of fellows are still alive. But the change agents say many of the fellows in their program still carry guns for protection.
How do you square that with if you are trying to teach them how to function in society, but yet they're still strapped?
Right now, we're just trying to teach them not to deal with their conflict with violence. I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm saying I understand your reality.
But having so many armed men on these streets
Relax.
is not a reality police here are comfortable with.
Lots of people carry around, usually more firepower than the police do.
We're with them when a routine traffic stop
Stay in the car, please.
turns into an armed standoff.
Put your hands up! Hands up! Hands up! It's a firearm.
The driver has a gun out in plain view.
Keep your hands up!
Not uncommon in Richmond, where protection from being hunted can be more important than hiding the weapon from police.
Don't move. If you move, you're gonna get shot. Do you understand? Keep your hand right there.
The two cops are outnumbered by the 4 men in the car, and no telling if the passengers are armed. In an instant, this could take a fatal turn.
Keep your hands on the headrest. Hands on the headrest. We got him coming right now.
Waiting on backup to arrive, Officer Ben Terrio makes a move,
Put a bead on him.
holstering his gun so he can disarm the driver.
Step out. Step out. Put your hands behind your back. Put your other hand behind your back. Put your other hand behind your back.
Turns out there was a second gun in the back seat.
Revolver?
But thankfully, no shots fired this time.
He may bail out before I even get off work, you know? And there's 2 firearms recovered in the vehicle.
Old school Uzi, pump action shotguns.
The guns laid out on this table at police headquarters were confiscated in just 3 weeks.
Yes, sir.
This is an AK-47 type rifle.
A staggering amount in a city of only 100,000 people.
Sawed-off double barrel.
So when you talk about serial shooters in Richmond, this is their potential arsenal here.
Any one of these guns or something similar, we could retrieve off the streets any day of the week.
But no matter how many illegal guns are pulled off the streets, nationally about half the people charged with firearm offenses get their cases dropped and go right back to the street.
You all right?
Which is why Devone and his team think their approach, working with instead of against young men like Dewan,
You got a good heart, man.
has to be part of the equation.
But it's just really like we thinking it's sometimes an extreme.
They get to make the decisions about how peaceful and safe this city is. And they're making those decisions every day. So we want to expose them to a world where they go from, I don't give up, to a place where maybe I do.
Dewan's good behavior earns him the next huge reward in the program. An all-expenses paid trip out east to Washington, D.C. and New York City. But there's a catch.
You have to be willing to travel with someone that's trying to kill you or that you're suspected of trying to kill.
Being made to face the perceived enemy is perhaps the biggest hallmark of the program. When we come back, watch what happens when Dewan comes face-to-face with his supposed rival.
Y'all making it seem like we tripping and y'all tripping and we making y'all trip.